Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wrestleview Post-Raw number 160. I'm Mike Tedesco.
I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Oh, man. Another one. Another good episode of Raw tonight. Oh, my gosh.
Great for the 160th episode, too, of the Post-Raw show.
Yes. Perfect for the 160th episode of the Post-Raw show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the show tonight. We got Quentin Walters here. He is our hype man for the show, for sure. Andrew Elder, the Wrestleview Fiend, is back. We missed him last week.
We did.
And it's still his fault over the tiny balls thing. I just gotta say. Oh, no. Andrew's on COVID exposure protocol.
I know.
Goose.
That was really bad of that woman.
Goosey saying no more Miz. He got kidnapped tonight. We gotta figure out where the Miz went. I gotta switch our cameras here.
Yeah, I was gonna
there
say,
we go.
Please. Thanks.
We got Jamel here. Eastside Reviews. Good evening, Legado del Tedesco. I like that name.
Me too.
Hello.
Hello.
Mashoon Walls is here. Mikey Wrestling. I like that. Mikey Wrestling.
I like it. I like it. Nice.
Oh my God. We got Daniel Shell here. All right. We got Chris Elgie. Okay. If I haven't said hello to you yet, to say hello, and I'll make sure I say it. But yeah, this is a hell of a show that we have to talk about tonight. Again, it cannot be overstated enough. I think just that we are truly in a new era of WWE.
Hey, Randy.
Triple H at the helm. Randy Torcola, we say hello to you. I acknowledged you, Daniel. What's wrong with this guy?
He's saying us. He's general.
I acknowledge everybody. Oh, yes. Hello, Queen Victoria, Duchess Sleeping Lily, Princess Tedesco, and Mike. Yes. I don't know if we really went into it last week, but because we announced like the day after the Post-Raw on our anniversary. But Victoria is pregnant with our second child here. Nick Hale. Hello, Nick Hale from Facebook. Hi, Nick. How you doing? All right. So you're pregnant. That's great.
And we're having another girl.
Yes, we're having another
confirmed.
Girl. Yes, it is confirmed. It is confirmed. Not only in a blood test, but we also saw a picture of it. It is a baby girl. Yeah, they to confirm it for those that don't have that don't have any babies yet. When they confirm your child's gender, they will do the ultrasound, the 3D ultrasound, and then they will literally take a picture of it and print it out. So we have these beautiful pictures of the baby's face and then the baby's pride. You know what I mean? It's very strange, very strange. Trevor Mishke might shoot live rounds. Yes,
baby Daniela Shella Tedesco.
Oh, I don't know about that, Goosey. We already have the name, by the way. We have the name. Yes, Jamel's bringing up a good point here. Legit a decade since I've cared enough to watch wrestling weekly. I'm honestly excited for SmackDown, Dynamite, and even NXT. I hear you. I'm the same way. I like around 5:00 today. I was like, man, what am I going to do for the next 3 hours before Raw starts? I'm so excited to watch this show and recap it. I hope it's coming through in the recap how excited I am about watching it, but
it very much is.
But a lot of newsworthy, look, it's not going to happen forever. It can't go on like that forever. We talked about for AEW, for example, how Tony Khan can't keep signing people and debuting them and keep putting them just on the show, forever, kind of like, one.
Yeah.
Eventually it's a law of diminishing returns.
100%.
There'll be a dud of like a debut or whatever. But for now, we're seeing a lot of these guys that were NXT guys, even behind the scenes too, with the Road Dogg, Jesse James.
Mm-hmm.
Brian James is in as senior vice president, live events, and Jeff Jarrett is out. The black and yellow crew from NXT past are all making a comeback. They were like, this era was like totally dead. Totally dead. starting into last year and even the beginning of this year, when they released Road Dogg and William Regal and all those guys that meant so much to the Performance Center and the original NXT.
Absolutely.
It's like, wow, like it's dead. It's over. Like that era where everything was so freaking awesome is gone.
It really, really bothered me. It did, because it was one of the best shows, and it just had, you know, a certain essence to it and like originality that it was great, and it was something exciting and kind of like an alternative, even though it's the same company from what WWE normally does in the main roster.
Right.
So I'm just excited that it's back, that it's just back in the swing of things, and it's just getting to where it needs to be. And, you know, now you're getting all these people who coming back into the main roster and seeing what they actually can do.
Nafisa Dot and Mr. V, we say hello to you gentlemen as well, our dear friends here. And of course, before we even really get into this, let me let Quentin do his hype here. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast. And plus, hit the notification bell so you can catch up with any wrestling news and live podcasts like Post-Raw with Mike and Victoria Tedesco. Indeed. Yes. Man. So the big news tonight, and try to think, like, just 2 months ago, like, anything that happened on tonight's show essentially wouldn't be happening.
Right.
I actually shudder to think where we'd be right now post SummerSlam with Vince still as the head of creative.
Oh, 100%. It would just be like the same. And then, you know how you're excited now? You said at 5:00, you're like, oh, I can't believe it's still 3 hours till Raw starts. I'm excited. I needed to start already. At 5:00, you would have been like, oh God.
Honestly, even at 5:00, I wouldn't have even been thinking about Raw.
No.
It would just be like 7:57 roll around and be like, oh, I gotta do Raw.
I know.
Now it's like I can't wait to get back into it. You know, like I was so excited to recap SmackDown on Friday for Roy. You know, because I'm just so
excited about wrestling. Yes, yes,
great. So the big news tonight, obviously, we had a phenomenal main event with Edge and Damian Priest, but the big news of tonight is Johnny Gargano is back in WWE and he's on Raw. Now, this isn't Johnny Gargano's first time on Raw. Remember that weird time they called up the NXT guys for no reason, and then they just immediately sent them back down.
So weird.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Okay.
But Johnny Gargano, look, that's why I'm talking about like 2 months ago. And like Johnny Gargano would not be signed by WWE,
not at all,
if it was still the way it was 2 months ago.
No chance.
Let alone, and if he was signed. Like if Johnny decided to come back to wrestling and said, okay, I'm going to go to WWE.
I'm going to give it a shot. Yeah.
He would be crushed under the thumb of Vince and his creative.
The placement just wouldn't have been there. It would not have been elevated to where it actually needed to be.
Right.
At all.
Right. And and let's say that he debuted, on the show, whatever he did in NXT, which he carried the show, him and Adam Cole and Ciampa, like those were like the main
top tier
guys. Johnny Gargano has had some of the best wrestling matches in WWE history. I mean, there have been a plethora of great matches, that are spectacles, but in terms of actual wrestling product, Johnny Gargano's had some of the finest wrestling matches in WWE history, at least wrestling matches that you can still watch.
Oh yeah.
Because like Benoit also had great matches, but you can't watch those anymore. But like with Johnny Gargano, it's like you can watch and enjoy just great wrestling. You can pull up any of his matches that he had on any of those takeovers. His history would have been erased. He'd be starting fresh, and it would probably be like a nothing debut. Like look how Ciampa debuted under Vince, and look at Ciampa now. Totally different.
I really had no idea that potential.
Well, Ciampa
at all.
Of course, I mean, if you watch NXT, you know
that. But if you
that potential did not exist on the main roster.
Not at all.
It did not exist on the main roster. Under Vince, Ciampa was debuted as just a guy. He randomly came in and then he like would disappear, and he was just like kind of being. It's like they're just riding this guy out until his contract expires, and now he's. He had a phenomenal match with Bobby Lashley that really, put an exclamation point on Ciampa, saying, "I'm here on the main roster. I'm here and I'm legit." And now this stuff with the Miz, they're actually turning into a great tag team.
I never would have thought.
Turning into a great tag team here. Now Gargano debuts under the Triple H era here now. Comes out, humongous pop. He just kicks off the segment with just his music playing and letting Toronto do the rest. And I thought the crowd was kind of hot.
They were wishy-washy in some areas,
cold all night,
for sure.
But man, they treated this guy like he's a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's not saying that any NXT call-ups, onto the main roster haven't gotten big pops. There have been a ton of guys that have gotten big pops. And, I always go back to that story that Stone Cold Steve Austin told about Vince McMahon. I think it was like 1996 or 97. They were in Madison Square Garden, and opening match, Austin's just kind of in an entrance way, peeking through the curtain and watching what's going on because he loves wrestling. Stone Cold Steve Austin legitimately loves wrestling. So he would watch house shows from the curtain, just see what the other guys are doing. And he couldn't remember who it was, but the opening match started, and the guy makes his entrance, and this guy who hadn't been utilized that well on television comes out to this enormous pop, and Vince happens to be standing right next to him. And he goes, "Wow, that was a hell of a pop, huh?" And Vince goes, "Yeah, I hope he can get over." So Vince is there's certainly something to that where, one reaction isn't everything. But in this case, this reaction kind of just, there's not a lot of people that might know Johnny Gargano that might watch Raw at this point, who knows? But if you don't know anything about him and you see, and you hear how the crowd reacts to him, what else can you possibly think other than this guy's a big deal?
Yeah.
This is a guy who's a superstar. And then he does this awesome unscripted promo about how he's been wondering if he can still do this after 9 months. It was very reminiscent of the promo that Cody Rhodes cut the night after WrestleMania, talking about family, talking about holding his 6-month-old son and watching a ton of Bluey, which Victoria and I can totally sympathize with watching.
You love so much Bluey. V, you love the Bluey too.
I'm not a big Bluey fan.
I'm a Bluey fan, 100%.
It is what it is. But then he was thinking, can I still do this? Do I want to still do this? And then he's baby wrestling with his son, which got a baby wrestling chant started in Toronto, which I loved. And he goes, what kind of father would I be if I didn't show my son that, whatever you put your mind to, if you bet on yourself, you can succeed. And like this is like a ready-made WWE main roster storyline here, betting on yourself and doing your best to show your son, to prove to your son that, dreams can come true. He wants to be Intercontinental Champion. He wants to be United States Champion. He wants to be WWE Champion. That's the stuff, for ever, WWE has always been about, say your prayers, take your vitamins, this and that. I mean, other than a couple of periods where, Stone Cold throwing beers and middle fingers, where it was totally, totally different. WWE's, in their idea of what family entertainment looks like, always tries to have storylines like that. That's why the Cody Rhodes thing connected so well. And now this Johnny Gargano thing, I think, is going to connect really well too. Now, I also talked about how if he came back, his history would be erased. Well, as he was leaving NXT, he was paired up with Theory. They had a tag team going on for a while. I wonder how they'll work in Dexter and Loomis into this as well. I'm kind of curious about that. But Austin Theory comes out. I keep calling Austin Theory. Theory comes out, and he confronts Gargano and says, "Oh, you took me under your wing, and I wouldn't be here without you. But since I've been here, I've already been United States champion. I've wrestled on WrestleMania, and I'm holding this Money in the Bank contract, which means I'm the future undisputed Universal WWE champion." He goes, it seems like I'm living your dream. So you can carry my bags. You can be my second in command now and whatever. And it was insulting to him. They mentioned the fact and played off the fact that they have a history from NXT that led to Gargano super kicking him and standing over him. So this is a ready-made feud with Gargano that they can tap in with their great video packages they've been doing lately into the rich history of their pairing in NXT. And I love that the crowd remembered it too. This was a very wrestling centric crowd apparently, because they were chanting "Who's your daddy," which was also the NXT chant.
It's Toronto, so
I loved it.
Okay.
Everything about it was great.
You know what's wonderful about all of this and everything that you just mentioned? We can finally bring logic back into wrestling. We have such an open door for it, because with the history component, you have a built-in story. No one's wondering why Theory is challenging Gargano. They explained it for you. For those people who really are not, like you said before, who really don't watch, religiously, they're not watching every week, and they turn it on like intermittently. And based upon like the news that's going on, they finally they're like, let me give it just a chance, see what's happening. You get a sense of who this individual is coming out. Huge pop. I'm interested. Okay, cool. And then Theory comes into the mix and just brings this element of storytelling where it's this automatic sense of, we had this feud. No, we didn't have this feud. We work together. We know each other very well. Now I'm kind of a big deal around here. You're going to have to, step up to me and be my sidekick, so to speak, right?
Yes.
And you have an automatic match. You have an automatic feud. You have automatic everything. And no one's wondering why, why Theory out of everybody else is randomly going up to this guy.
Right.
It's not random anymore. We are allowed to bring in some sort of from the past into now and work it into what's going on.
In 2022, to pretend like, this television show, which is under our umbrella, doesn't exist on another show is just insulting to your fan base. I get Vince's mentality. The guy's 76 years old. You're never going to change him, right?
No.
When he was, still with it and senile and, putting together a decent product, Vince's, logic was, he was getting guys from other territories, or he was getting guys from other companies like WCW that were coming in. They have to restart their history because you're certainly not going to mention your competition. But that carried, after he purchased WCW and ECW and killed the territory system, essentially, he maintained that logic, especially pertaining to, NXT and things like that. And it just, in 2022, it just doesn't compute with your fan base anymore to be that dense, that weird, to me, it's just weird.
It is weird.
You wouldn't want to, play into that, but I guess he wants to do everything, have a hard restart. But why do you think the people are cheering for these people when they come up? Because of what they've done in the past,
right? It's not random. That's the whole point. It's not random.
And if NXT exists solely to get people ready to be the next star, why would you want to derail them from any momentum that they had coming up and do a hard restart on the things that are turning them into stars?
I like how you put that, the hard restart. And that's exactly what it was. There, NXT Gargano, and if Vince was still in control, NXT Gargano and now Gargano would have been completely different. It would have been a totally different person. You would never even have known what they've done. And that to me never made sense.
Right.
Why wouldn't you want that progression?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want that momentum, like you said? And
why would you want to cut somebody's legs off before they even get started?
And that was another point.
Why make them get over again when they're already over?
Right. And that was another point I was going to make too.
I want to mention that Andrew K made a very good point here. We
Sure.
say hello to Andrew as well. That Theory being so hated is going to intensify the love for Gargano. It's a genius first feud for him.
Exactly.
Because we're using logic.
Logic's back in. We're open to logic.
I can't remember if logic has ever been employed in the last, since we started the show.
Well, I'm sure at one point it was, but
it was at one point. But
yeah.
For the most part.
What I was going to say was, what I also like is the trust that Triple H has in these individuals. Granted, I know he's known them for a long time. So okay, one can argue the fact that he's known them. So it's a trust that it's not instantaneous, but he's built a relationship with these individuals. But even someone like Vince, who had many relationships with a lot of
he
superstars.
had many relationships. Oh, Vince had a lot of relationships.
Okay.
That's why he's not there anymore. Come on, you set that up.
I did set it up. I'm sorry, everybody. You know, Vince had a lot of relationships with these people, but he still didn't trust certain individuals. And you gotta let somebody just do what they can, see what they have, see what they can do. And you can't also put the kibosh on something if something doesn't work out 100% right away. You gotta let people fail a little bit. You have to let people, because it's not going to be a home run every time. It's not. You know, there are going to be some people who he probably puts trust in, and they may show you, like, again, that they're doing really well, or they might be like, they still need to get kind of their feet wet and, you know, progress a little bit more at a slower pace. But
absolutely. Well, like the 3-week shot and you're done.
that's
insane.
That's insane.
That's insane. If that's the case, you know, Dakota Kai and Io Sky having their match tonight with Alexa Bliss and Asuka, the crowd, yeah, it was a good match. It was a good match, but the crowd was quiet during it. And that would be, oh, that's it. Pull the plug on them.
They're done.
And pull the plug on the women's tag team titles, which, you know, I have not been a fan of, but they're doing a good job building titles up and making them important again, which is very important.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't understand why we needed women's tag team titles, but they're here now and they're doing a good job establishing some teams.
And it's changing my mind a little bit because it's getting more women involved. So
right. But that would be the end, you know, so 3 weeks and you're out. And Jamel also saying if Vince was still around, Gargano's first feud would randomly be with Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, exactly.
If Vince was still around, his first feud would probably be with like T-Bar, and then he'd be on Main Event within 3 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Having great matches against Mustafa Ali that no one will ever see.
Yeah.
That's what would happen.
That's exactly what would have happened. But you have to have trust. It's like anything. It's like any job. When you start a new position, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna be perfect.
Right.
You're not. You have to fail a little bit. You have to try, and you have to make a name for yourself, and you have to grow. And if you immediately give this timeline of, like, granted, 3 weeks versus 6 months, totally different. If something's really not clicking in 6 months time, then yeah, you got.
Then it's like, okay, you know what? We tried. We wanted to see what we had. It just didn't work out.
Didn't work out.
Like, how about this classic? You know, one of the biggest angles in pro wrestling history. You know, for as great as they were, they wound up killing the company. But the NWO, okay, 1996, Hulk Hogan turns at the Bash at the Beach, and the NWO takes over. It did not lead to enormous ratings for WCW for a little while. You know, it wasn't. They didn't start blowing up until really months later, and you know, for as much flack as you can give Eric Bischoff for letting things go too long and letting too many guys get control and this and that, you know, you took a big gamble with Hogan turning heel for the NWO, and it didn't pay dividends humongously immediately, but they stuck with it, and it did eventually.
Yeah.
You don't know what you can't. There's no possible way you could ever know what you have on your hands in 3 short weeks.
But it's weird. There was also some moments, well, a lot of moments too, where it was on the flip side of.
I think Randy just mentioned what you're going to say here, where, you know, like, how about, like, you know, I was just reading a recap of mine because there was some WWE put out like a YouTube video playlist of Roman Reigns' returns, and there was this one from like March 2016 where he returned in the lead up to WrestleMania against Triple H, and the crowd, I mean, I don't even know why they put it in the playlist, because the crowd was just booing him. Like he was supposed to be the face, and it was horrible. So I was like, let me go back and see what I said about it. And I'm reading my recap and my review, and I was just, I was accurate and honest and right about everything that I said. I look, the one thing I don't know a lot of my life, but one thing I do know is pro wrestling, and I've been pretty spot on with a lot of my assessments through the years. You know, even though some people don't want to believe it, but I have been.
Oh, please.
Anyway, you know, I talk, you know, like that's an experiment. Look, Roman Reigns is the biggest star in wrestling now, but because they finally stopped fighting the fans on him. They stopped. They let Roman be Roman. Turn him heel. Let him do his thing. The guy looks
Not
like
Jack
a
and the
heel.
Beanstalk.
He looks like a heel. Not talking about tater tots and suffering succotash and
Jack and the Beanstalk
stuff. Like, let the guy be the guy. But for 4 or 5 years, they fought the fans the whole entire way, and it really hurt the show. It really hurt the company,
and fought the fans,
and they killed off a lot of viable stars in the process to do it,
and fought the fans in a lot of ways with baby
Daniel
faces.
Bryan.
Yeah, with baby faces, because everybody had to be like John Cena.
Right.
Nobody was ever going to be John Cena because John Cena is John Cena.
Right.
You have to be a babyface in your own way.
The Great Khali is one of the most atrocious professional wrestlers I've ever laid eyes on. But when he debuted in 2006, they debuted him. They had him beat The Undertaker. They had him beat Rey Mysterio. They had him do a whole bunch of things. And if and the crowd hated him the entire time. And it wasn't like oh, he's a heel, boo. It was like, no, this guy sucks. Get him off my TV. This is horrible. But he was able to just roll it into a quote unquote Hall of Fame career in WWE. Imagine if Khali came out. I mean, he was getting lukewarm reactions, 3 weeks in, and pull the plug on him. But they kept pushing that.
Yeah, you have to.
You cannot do that.
You can't play. I mean, listen, I get in one sense you can't placate to the fans entirely because there's always going to be people who, don't like something or like something and whatever. But this is a crowd-based show. They have to be looking at the fans, and it's a live show every week. You have to be looking at your fans and seeing their reactions to things to see how you're going to drive the rest of the stories and the rest of what their feuds are going to look like.
Yes. I like this. Mike is the new Dave Meltzer with only one difference. Mike is a true wrestling journalist. I love Quentin.
No.
I'll be Alvarez on that one.
No.
She'll be Meltzer.
Oh my God,
Oh,
Daniel.
God, no.
You just made my list.
I got to say though about Meltzer and Alvarez, I don't listen to them a lot, but I've heard the reviews of this show. It's just like their brand is built on negativity, and they, even when WWE's good, they have to be negative about it. They have to, because that's their brand. That's what their subscribers expect from them. It was pretty pitiful to listen to the one.
I'm going to pull out my hair right now.
Anyway,
I'm not Alvarez.
I don't want to talk about those guys. But it's the dawning of a new era here. Johnny Gargano is back. Enormous pop. Featured segment. Built-in feud with Austin Theory, talking about their partnership and connection and their history. And it's going to be big. I really have a great feeling about it.
Love you too, Daniel.
And Jamel, Vince's mind looks to have been going for a while. All the constant rematches and forgetting stuff. He needs to retire. He has need to retire for well over a decade. We've been saying, yeah. No question about it. No question about it. So if you like what you're watching and listening to so far, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Go to Wrestleview.com for great coverage of wrestling news. And if I do say so myself, fantastic recaps. Our AEW Dynamite recap by Mr. Josh Boutwell is well renowned. And our SmackDown recap by Roy Nemmer is beloved. And of course, the Raw recap by me is not bad either.
No.
So check him out.
And Roy's a celebrity.
And Jerome is our official AEW Rampage recapper. We are looking for a new AEW Dynamite recapper. Our dear friend Josh Boutwell is moving on to greener pastures with his job, and there's too many conflicts with him on Wednesdays now. And I have to say, I just want to say this real quick, that Josh was like the first guy, like when I became editor-in-chief, the first guy that I brought on, or in this case, I brought him back to be the AEW Dynamite recapper, and he's just been phenomenal, and his service will not be forgotten. He's been an incredible recapper, and we hope to have him back at some point, when things slow down for him. But we will be bringing on a new recapper in September. Daniel, if you raise your hand, you have to send in an application. So we'll see what we got here. But anyway, let's talk about the rest of the show. It's been an excellent show. I mean, you can see just looking at, the poll on Twitter. This, you know what? It just almost never, ever, ever happens. So I have to show this. I just have to, because it's absolutely incredible what I'm looking at right here. What did you think of the August 22nd WWE Raw from Toronto? When the hell, Victoria, have you ever seen this? 96% thumbs up.
Oh my god.
96.2% thumbs up. 3.8% down. That's with nearly 80 votes right now.
I know why.
Well, I know why too, but
no. I know why.
Why?
Paul loves me.
Yes.
He's trying to make me happy when I watch Raw.
Yes, indeed. I mean, that look, we recapped a show in 2018 where Dean Ambrose was getting needles in his ass. That did, I think it did 96.2% thumbs down. What a turnaround.
That's like the go-to.
What a turnaround.
That's the go-to moment, by the way, for how bad things were.
That was the breaking point.
Right?
I mean, look.
That's always sticks out of my mind.
Raw ratings now, I mean, like, the ratings now, even though they're on the rise and they've been consistent now, I guess, for a while, under 2 million would have been catastrophic, unheard of 2 years ago. Pandemic obviously has redefined everything, but those numbers would be catastrophic, unheard of years ago. So I mean, like, the show was still doing about 2.8 million, and that was like, oh my god, that's the we got to do something, hard reset here. I remember Vince coming out and saying, oh, we're gonna listen to the fans more, and the whole McMahon family was out there, and they're like, oh, we're gonna no more automatic rematches, that's what's gonna get you back. Like, come on, idiots. This is what we wanted. Wrestling that doesn't insult you, a product that doesn't insult you.
Do you think he watches Vince and is like he rumbles to himself, or no?
I don't know. I imagine he
what are you doing to my show?
I imagine he heard Drew McIntyre say wrestling and wrestling ring last week and just immediately instinctively shoved his fingers down his throat and made himself vomit. Like, he might still be doing that right now. God damn, what a show. What a show. Anyway.
Corey said that I'm going to be the new AEW recapper.
Wow. That would be something.
I have no time.
I know you have no time. You're going to give birth.
I'm growing.
You're going to give birth, and I'm going to be looking for a new recapper again.
I'm growing a human.
Yes, indeed. All right. Let's talk about this main event, because this was just wildly good with Edge and Damian Priest. Now, I can't even remember the last time a match was promoted, not just like, from SmackDown to Raw, the match was promoted.
Right.
And they actually pulled it off, because usually they would promote things on SmackDown and then it would never happen.
Never happen.
Like, that
wasn't gonna happen.
But they started advertising this match 2 weeks ago, emphasizing that it's in Toronto. Edge's hometown. This is a big deal. He's going to face Damian Priest. Toronto tonight was sold out. I wonder why. Because they promoted that the show was going to be in Toronto with a big deal match, and somebody who lives in Toronto or near Toronto said, like, oh wow, that does sound like a big match. I think I want to buy a ticket there. They were legitimately sold out tonight, which is extremely rare for any television any wrestling television show at this point. Impact sells out, but they have a warehouse with 6 seats in it, so it's hard not to. But
okay,
but for WWE sell out an arena, that's a huge deal. And this was legitimately sold out. Edge comes out, gets this enormous pop. You got Beth Phoenix at ringside. They did this pay-per-view video package before it even started. Talked about it all night. And even on matches that they've been building up on Raw, like the Bobby Lashley United States title matches, they've been putting that on at the 10 o'clock hour to try to get people to at least start watching the third hour and see if they'll stick around. No, this was the true main event tonight. This was the last thing on the show. And to make it an even bigger deal, like, this is like a pay-per-view match we're giving you. Limited commercial interruption, picture in picture. They should do that every week. You can't build a match like that every week, but picture-in-picture matches really need to be a thing on Raw, and it really made it feel special. And Edge treated it like it was special. Damian Priest treated it like it was special. Edge pulled out a top rope Hurricane Rana tonight, Frankensteiner, diving off the top rope. Damian Priest took this ridiculous power bomb on the barricade that looked like it snapped his back in two. They went at it like this was the biggest match of their careers. And for Damian Priest, this was easily the biggest match of his career and the best match of his WWE career, I should say.
And what did I say about Edge?
Canadian Destroyer. Yes, Daniel Shell. Edge pulled out a Canadian Destroyer tonight, too.
What did I say about Edge, too?
I don't remember.
Everybody was saying how, this is bad. Like, he really is whatever.
Because it was.
It was, but I said he could turn it around.
Yeah, he could turn it around with a new person leading creative.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but I said that once Triple H took over, I was like, okay, this is gonna be turned around. He's gonna be fine. And you know what?
Well, how about Judgment Day is fine,
right?
Judgment Day was dying.
Can we talk about this main event in conjunction with something else?
Yes.
The hometown people, the people from the area, were over and won and weren't getting buried like every other time. Yes. It's like, oh, you're from Ohio. Guess what? You're gonna get destroyed tonight. Oh, you're from New Jersey. Guess what? You're destroyed tonight.
Right.
You're
okay. So Trish Stratus was on the show tonight. Hall of Famers Trish Stratus was on the show tonight, and Bayley and Asuka and Io Sky come out in the ring and get her face. So Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss and Asuka come out ringside, to back Trish up. And then later on, they're talking backstage, and Trish sets Bayley up in a match with Aaliyah. And that's the last we saw of Trish. But, under Vince, who knows? Like, they would have laid Trish out or put her through a table or something like that backstage or whatever. Or it would have been like Mad Dog Vachon in Minnesota getting beat with his, prosthetic leg. Like something crazy would have happened. But no. Goosey saying Edge just announced his retirement. What? He's making me go on to freaking Twitter right now and look to see that is not true. I know it's not true, of course.
Well, Trish technically started off the show. I know the brawls started off the show, but Trish technically started off the show, which was great, and Edge being Edge and having the main event, somebody from the area, cool. They won. They went over.
No, Edge. Oh, okay. All right. So this is what happened. Edge announced his plans to retire next year. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, so after the show was over, he said that he is going to retire at some point next year. Next year in Toronto. How about that? Wow. Well, that'll be something. That'll be a really big deal. Gosh, like if he was able to sell out a Raw, man, he's that's going to be an enormous pay-per-view or show wherever they do it. Very cool. Very cool. The way you put it is Edge just announced his retirement. Like, that's it. He's done. Like,
right. Like that match was it.
Okay. I guess that's that.
He had such a great match tonight that he was like, you know what? I'm good.
The guy is almost 50, so it's going to be, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, certainly. But man, he looked great tonight. He pulled out all the stops. Toronto is where Edge, I think he really, really decided he wanted to be a pro wrestler because he went to WrestleMania 6 and saw Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior in the main event. And essentially just said, like, that's what I want to do forever.
I couldn't believe I was watching a match with Damian Priest, and it was really amazing.
Yes.
I just couldn't believe it.
I know.
I could not believe it. It was fantastic.
And Damian Priest, I thought this guy was DOA. And honestly, like, even with Triple H in control, when they start talking, it's they need help. They still need help. But Damian, like it felt like Triple H knows what Damian Priest is really good at. What are his strong suits? And Vince having him do dives and all this stupid crap every week that looked terrible. Like, that's not Damian Priest.
No.
This is what Damian Priest can do.
Yes.
And it's like Triple H was like, let me, Edge wanted to create the stable to put these people over. It didn't work. He got out of it. He probably called the shot to get the hell out of this thing. And Triple H's like, well, you want to put him over? We're gonna, let's do it right. Have a great match, against the guy in your hometown. And Damian Priest looked phenomenal in this. He looked better than I've ever seen him at any moment on the main roster. Fantastic. That's how you do it.
The promo, listen, anytime he speaks, it's obviously it doesn't work for him. But I think, to go back to what you were saying before about Triple H, he's at least giving people the chance to see if it does work for them. And I think he's starting to realize less talking, doesn't even need to talk at all. Just wrestle. Just wrestle and be the muscle. That's fine. That's good. Do that. But he's at least giving them the opportunity. See, okay, maybe if we structure your promos this way, you'll do better. Okay, clearly it's not working. We'll wean that out. But this was his element tonight.
Yeah.
This is what he belonged to, was meant to do. This is what Damian Priest was meant to wrestle. This is the type of feud he was meant to be in. It was awesome. It really, really, really was awesome. And going back to what you said before, it was a true main event. A true main event. You have somebody who's from the area in it, who's relevant. They've been promoting it for 2 weeks. Put on hell of a show. What's better than that?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we still have a ways to go. Before we can really start just saying that everything's a gigantic success. There's a lot that needs to happen in order to say that. But for all those that are still bullish on giving full praise to Paul Levesque for what he's doing right now, with this company, look, we're a month into it. We're a month removed from Vince saying that he's retired. I think it might be a month today or something like that. It was very, very close. Actually, no, it might be a little over. I can't remember. I think it was like maybe July.
I don't want to remember. I just want to be in this moment.
I know, right? I think it was like July. Might have been. I think it was July 15th.
I don't remember. Last month was kind of a blur in some regard.
Yeah, I think it was like July 15th, and then it was announced. On. Oh no, I can't remember. I think it was July 15th, and then it was announced on maybe July 18th that Triple H was in control, or was it July 22nd? I can't remember. Anyway, it's been a month since Vince has been gone. I that much I know. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say. I know a lot of people are like, I'm very tepid about, giving full, but look, it's been really much better shows to watch. Look, there's still, issues, I think there's too many camera cuts still. I think they rely too much on silly finishes sometimes to get out of things, but for the most part, this was a 3-hour show that breezed by once again. When I watched SmackDown, after the face-to-face, I was like, wow, that's it, man. I wanted that 2 hours was like a blink. That's how good it was. A fatal 5-way that was outrageous. A crowd that was into everything they were doing. People talking, this is all I want. I don't want negativity in my life. I don't want to watch something that makes me just slap myself in the forehead every time I watch it. I want to be positive about the show. I am. And that's what I am. And a lot of people are. It's great to go on Twitter and not have it be so toxic about wrestling. There's still idiots on Twitter. That'll never change. Yeah. But for the most part, the positivity is there. Anything else on this main event? There you go.
I'm so blown away that I'm speechless and I'm coughing.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. And we got the big news now that Edge is teasing that his retirement will be next year in a match in Toronto.
Jerome planned that perfectly. Jerome, you did that perfectly, man.
I will be around to recap that. I'll tell you that.
Timed that perfectly.
It was Edge that made the promo. Oh, don't worry. I'm sure there'll be something at some point that will be deserving of a rant. But for right now, I'm just so damn happy.
You could give Mike a topic.
This is a happy rant. This is a happy rant.
You know what you should do? Go to the Wrestleview media page.
That might do it, because they are going backwards creatively a little bit right now.
No, this is what you should do. Go to the Wrestleview media page. Post random things. It doesn't have to be about wrestling that Mike can rant about. I assure you'll still be just as entertained, even though it's not about pro wrestling. Just get a few topics out there. I'll look at them to see if Mike would rant about something like that. That's what you could do. Or you can even make some comments right now of things you think Mike would rant about.
I don't know. If Bray Wyatt comes back and he's the Fiend, I would be genuinely curious to see what Bray Wyatt does without Vince being like, oh, we have to make him the Undertaker right now and do every hokey thing we've ever done with the Undertaker and put it all into one match. I think if Bray Wyatt came back and had creative control over what the hell was going on with his character, I think it'd be different. I do. I thought the SummerSlam match where they didn't know what the hell they had on their hands at the time against Finn Balor, that was one of the best debuts in pro wrestling history in my mind. It was phenomenal. What a great presentation of a brand new character. And then the next match the guy has is at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view against Seth Rollins, and it was the very worst pro wrestling match I've ever recapped. Hard stop, period. That's it.
Oh, the
worst match I've ever recapped. And then every match subsequently was tied for the worst match I've ever recapped.
We riled him up, everyone.
But if he were to come back,
always come back,
and try it again with his vision instead of Vince's insane vision, maybe different. Maybe I don't know.
I agree with Daniel. I want creepy Bray Wyatt. I'm cool with creepy Bray Wyatt. Not the Fiend.
Thank you, Randy. I have had to slog through all months of 3-hour garbage fire Raws. Now, actually, Raw wasn't horrible after they did the draft lottery or whatever, like the brand lottery, whatever they did last October, where they kind of put some actual stars on the show. I thought the show did get a little easier to watch, but it still wasn't good. It still wasn't good because every team needs a new coach at some point. It's like Joe Torre was the manager of the Yankees for that big dynasty era, but after 12 years of being their coach, in 2008, they said, no more Joe Torre, and Joe Torre is one of the best baseball managers of all time. Vince, God almighty, being in that role for like 30, 40 years, that's insane. It's
if you're not all there either.
It's time to go, especially in your mid 70s. God almighty. Anyway, so yeah, I think that would be a different thing.
Retro rant. Things that you ranted about in the past.
I can't rant about something I already ranted about. I had to feel it in the moment. I can't manufacture a rant.
Retro rants.
Yeah, and Vince calling Bray a fat ass. Definitely that won't be happening either under Triple H, I think.
No.
I mean, that's horrible.
That was just mean.
That's
cruel.
Crappy. That's just crappy. I thought about it. I've been recapping Raw for 8.5 years. It's like I felt like I was a SmackDown recapper forever. Yeah,
I think we can officially call you a Raw recapper.
I think I've been a Raw recapper longer than I've been a Raw recapper longer than I was a SmackDown recapper.
Oh man!
But there was that year, what was it, 2015, where I did both Raw and SmackDown for like the full year.
You did. I remember because we were getting married.
I think it was like 2014, or it might have been 2014 into 2015, and then I stopped or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, it was I was a SmackDown recapper for quite some time.
Oh yeah,
quite some time. But I think I've been the Raw recapper.
I think we could officially call you the Raw recapper.
I think I've been the Raw recapper longer than I've been a SmackDown recapper at this point now. So I guess I'm done with SmackDown. Anyway, let's see. So this show also featured Trish Stratus, Hall of Famer, in her hometown, doing Hall of Fame things, I guess. She got the crowd chanting one more match for her and all that stuff. I don't know if she will do one more match.
I'm so jealous of her.
They certainly seem to tease it, or at least allow it to be teased. Actually, the show kicked off with Seth Rollins and Riddle brawling.
I loved that.
That was actually really, really cool.
I love just going into a brawl. Why the hell not?
I know. Like, you can't do it every week.
No.
But man, I mean, like,
Cool.
Riddle and Seth Rollins is like a really hot feud right now. A really, really hot feud.
I just love how they're just going at it. Like they spoke last week. Now they're going at it this week. Like,
I mean, you think about, like,
ooh.
you know, when Vince was in control, you know, Riddle had that great match. I think it was in June against Roman Reigns, and they built it really well. And that was like an enormously high rated SmackDown. And then the follow up was like Riddle getting destroyed by Omos. We haven't seen Omos in quite some time. At least a couple weeks. I think. Well, no, 2 weeks ago he had that squash match, and last week Veer Mahan had a squash match too. Neither of them were on the show this week, unfortunately, for Veer especially. I love that guy. And then the follow up was like Riddle gets killed, and then it was like, oh, Seth Rollins is going to stomp him to death. Well, that's not sustainable, and they decided, like, okay, you know, like, initially I didn't get the vision for taking him off of SummerSlam, the SummerSlam match against Seth Rollins.
I was about to say the same thing.
But I totally get it now. You know, take him off of the SummerSlam. Let us build a little more. Let's build Riddle up a little more before doing this match.
Yes.
Let's do it the right way. And at friggin' Clash at the Castle, I can't wait to recap this show that's in the middle of the day on a Saturday, on our final weekend before school starts. God. To recap something. To recap a wrestling show.
Man.
And one of the matches I cannot wait to see is Riddle versus Rollins. And they started off with this feud tonight. I took Riddle off of TV for a couple of weeks, and then they had the great pro wrestling return that we talked about last week, where I'm actually not in my mom's basement. I'm here, and I'm coming to kick your ass.
Yep.
Love that. And
love it.
The follow-up this week was they are
still
violently brawling.
They're still hyped up. They're still amped. They're still feuding. They're still angry with each other.
And what a weekend for wrestling that's going to be. We got Clash at the Castle and All Out and Worlds Collide. Also, I don't know what's on Worlds Collide, but should be pretty. I think it's just a great weekend of professional wrestling, and I am excited.
There's so many options.
But Riddle looks like a star now, and like even more so. And that was a really great little brawl to kick off the show. I love the chaotic start. I love that the fireworks started going off. And then it stopped because they were brawling in Gorilla, where I guess you can't do fireworks.
A real life interruption.
And they run to the back, and you go to the Gorilla position. You see them brawling. They brawl into the crowd. They brawl up the steps. Eventually, they're separated after this chaotic start. And then it's like, all right, that was wild. All right, let's start the show now. Fireworks go off now. Trish Stratus comes out. It's like it made it feel like it was impromptu. Like this actually was not planned, and this interrupted the show. I like that.
Me
that
too.
Was just really
gives an authentic feel.
Yes. It was very authentic. I like that. I love that word authentic. I love the word organic. You know, these people are getting over without being forced. They're doing things that make you interested.
I don't know why you're looking at me like forced.
Because that's what they were doing. That's what I'm saying. Oh my God. That's the other match I cannot wait for. Gunther versus Sheamus. And I would love at Clash at the Castle for Gunther to come out and be Walter again, but whatever. But my God, someone's going to the hospital in that match. Someone's going to the hospital. That's going to be a violent, violent match. Oh my God. Anyway, love that. The kick off the show. We get Trish Stratus coming out right after, and she says, she feels at home in the ring. Definitely sounding like she's teasing a match. You know, she had that great match at SummerSlam against Charlotte Flair in 2019. And that was her final match so far. But, her versus, as Andrew Elder calls her, Karen Bailey, might be something I would be really interested in seeing. And I kind of have a feeling like Survivor Series in Boston this year is going to be not the throwaway show that it's been for the last couple of years, where it's just
I think they're gonna have a new take on it.
Raw versus SmackDown. I think we're gonna see a better effort.
I think it's gonna be a better it was a sucky version, but it was a better version of what Survivor Series really should be. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see.
So jealous of Trish.
I mean, you certainly could. Why are you jealous of Trish?
Cause she's children and she looks stunning. Like she comes out like all like hot, like she's from the 90s. What the hell? She's aging like a fine wine. That
I don't know. She's a yoga queen.
She is
here's another thing.
Beautiful.
Here's something that was well done on the show is that Bailey and Dakota Kai and Io Sky are in the ring with Trish, and they're like, oh, we're big fans of you, but what are you doing here?
Yeah.
What are you doing here? And Trish is like, well, there's a big match happening with another Torontonian and Edge, and I'm here to see it. And she had something to say before she was so rudely interrupted. She never actually got to say what she was going to say. So that's kind of interesting. I kind of like that. Anyway, Dakota Kai and Io Sky say they don't like Trish, and Bailey says, you've been riding our coattails all weekend and talked about Trish Stratus appearing at the house shows, at the WWE live events. When do they ever build up a live event? They did it once when the Madison Square Garden live event had like really, really low numbers. Like one of the most embarrassing Madison Square Garden ticket sale releases for WWE. And they actually started promoting it on WWE television. Paul Heyman's like, oh, Brock Lesnar's going to have a WWE title match at Madison Square Garden. So you got to come and see it. That's what got us there. But other than that, they never mention live events ever. And especially they mentioned the towns where they're at and Trish appearing on these shows. It's like, that's smart.
I know.
You want people to go to your live events? Talk about them.
You want more money?
I mean, like, come on.
Hello.
Now, look, their revenue is they're long past the days of like live events being their bread and butter. But God, it's a revenue stream.
But you should still make an effort to make it a good.
It's a revenue stream that is just extra for them at this point. And now they got Road Dogg as the senior vice president of live events. Jeff Jarrett was doing a very good job with the live events, but he left last week, and now the Road Dogg is here. I think they're going to continue to do a great job with these shows. They're building this company up again in the right direction. It was just so insane and chaotic and senile, like the way they were going about it. It was just so dated and uninspired. And now it's really, there's something there again. Loved Bianca Belair coming out, standing alongside Trish, because that obviously the Hall of Fame rub gets onto Bianca Belair. She put over Trish. This is her town. But it wasn't like, how sometimes they'll bring back a legend and it becomes either it becomes all about the legend or the legend gets crushed. In this case, Trish was the supporting star here to get over Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss and
this feud.
Asuka.
Yeah.
They used her in the right way. And even later on, she helped give a rub to Aaliyah to set her up for the match against Bailey. I just thought it was really well done.
It was very balanced.
I really liked it.
There wasn't too much of the ass kissing, but like you said, it wasn't too much either of like just insulting her.
Yeah.
It had the right balance of everything that it needed to be a successful segment.
Absolutely. Yes. Randy's also making a good point here too. It's a revenue stream and more fan interaction.
Yeah.
There's a ton of fan interaction that happens at these live events. That's where you can buy the packages to, have meet and greets backstage and all that stuff. If it's a way for your crowd to connect with the performers, you should put them over, make them more known.
Didn't you, when we were at the show this past year, a lot of people Rhea Ripley was going through that time of just not a lot was going on for her. But when we saw her in that match, you got reminded
Becky
of
Lynch,
like
Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley in a triple threat.
She was really a star in that match. I mean, Bianca and Becky, they're
that
fantastic.
Opened my eyes.
But
that made me excited about Rhea Ripley again. To see the handcuffs off at a live event.
That's why you need these live events, because you can connect with people more, and you're like, and then you get a little bit more interested in seeing what they would do on the main show, especially now.
Jamel's just making me think of like so many great things tonight. I want to see how Triple H would do something like an old school Raw. The problem is though, there just aren't a lot of guys around to do an old school Raw that are either still alive or like not with AEW or insane like Hulk Hogan. Like I wish that this happened. I mean, look, you know, we were talking about how, you know, you mentioned even that Vince should have retired like a decade ago. It would have been great to do like one of those old school Raws with, like, you know, when Mean Gene was still alive and Razor Ramon's still alive and somebody, you know, Howard Finkel's still around to get those guys in again, Vader, and just see what the hell could happen, you know. But a lot of these guys are really, like, they were old years ago, but they're 10 years older now. So I'd love to see an old school Raw, see what they could do with some of the guys that are still around, but you can't, you know, just do like Ted DiBiase, I guess, or whatever it is. So let me talk about this semifinal match with Dakota Kai and Io Sky versus Alexa Bliss and Asuka. I thought that this was a really solid effort. Now, the other thing I want to mention about this opening segment is that I thought Toronto was a little dead. So me and Victoria have been talking about how the crowd was kind of hot and cold. For the third hour of the show, they were hot. They were really, really hot. In fact, I want to say this too, that the third hour of the show was probably the best third hour of WWE maybe that I've ever recapped. I don't know. I don't know. But they've been doing 3-hour Raws for over a decade now, consistently. They started in July 2012, and now it's 2022. So it's been over 12 years now. Over 10 years now. I can't do math. Over 10 years now, and that's one of the best third hours since I took over the show in 2014 that I think I've ever recapped. One of them, you know, because there was just so much going on with the Johnny Gargano thing, the Edge, Damian Priest match, even the Miz and Ciampa versus Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles. It was just a great third hour. It really, really was. I'm sure there have been better, but I'm talking myself out of it right now. But I think it was just freaking damn good. But for the start of the show, the crowd was kind of a little subdued, even with Trish Stratus out there. You know, they chanted one more match and all that stuff, but you know, once Bayley and Io Sky and Dakota Kai came out, they were kind of quiet, which is weird because like there was such an NXT crowd later on when Johnny Gargano came out. They remembered, you know, the Who's Your Daddy and Johnny Wrestling and all that stuff. But you know, NXT stalwarts and, you know, Io Sky and Dakota Kai and even Bayley, in a sense, they really didn't respond that well to them, which I thought was a little disappointing. But they gave this match a lot of time. They've been really making a point to make sure that this this WWE Women's Tag Team Championship tournament has been well done. And the quarter, you know, the first round matches all got time. You know, all got time to be good. And even with, you know, and it's such a bummer about JC Jane and Gigi Dolan getting injured and they had to be pulled from the tournament, because that was an awesome moment on Friday when they beat Natalya and Sonya Deville, because it was just like, oh, well, you know, they're the NXT team. They're going to lose. And Vince was running things. That's how it would be. But instead, you know, they pull out the victory, this upset victory. And it's like, yes, they're not going to go to the finals probably against Raquel and Aaliyah, but that's a statement making match that when they eventually do come back, you can go back to that. You know, so there's been a lot of good things in this tournament, and they gave this match time. Now, it's a bummer that the crowd wasn't there for it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it was actually a pretty damn good match. I thought they all were there performing well. I love that, you know, they played on the history of Asuka and Io Sky, you know, in their Japanese history. And the match started with Asuka and Io Sky in the ring, and then Io Sky doesn't make any contact with her and runs away, and the commentators start talking about how they have history in Japan and all that stuff. But you know, Io Sky doesn't want any part of Asuka because of Asuka's, you know, fame in Japan and how tough she is. So it's building to where you want to see Asuka and Io Sky in the ring. Every time Asuka gets in the ring with Io Sky runs away. Eventually, of course, it comes down to Asuka, you know, really, really takes it to Io Sky. But then Io Sky is the one who gets the pin on her because of the distraction, which I thought it was really, really, really good.
That's clever.
Well, I'm sorry, not a distraction, but and another thing too, and Victoria's back, by the way. Another thing too that was really, really sharp is that, yeah, Dakota Kai and Io Sky are the heels in this match, but just because you're heels and you're beating, faces in a big match, like this is a big match, it's the semifinals, and this obviously plays into Clash at the Castle because Dakota Kai and Io Sky will team with Bianca Belair to take on. I'm sorry, Dakota Kai and Io Sky will team with Bayley to take on Alexa Bliss and Asuka with Bianca Belair. So this obviously has ramifications for the pay-per-view as well. But the heels didn't have to cheat to win. Yes, they used smart tag team wrestling to get the victory. Dakota Kai wasn't the legal competitor because Io Sky blind tagged in on her. So when Dakota Kai tapped out, she wasn't a legal competitor. So Io Sky rolled up Asuka for the victory. That's how they get the win. That's smart. Not every freaking time the heel gets the victory does it have to be like, oh, cheap, slip on a banana
sort
peel,
of scandal,
right.
Right. Weird type thing. No, you're 100% right. What I'm really enjoying about these past few weeks, and we talked about this briefly before, is I am paying attention to the women's tag titles. A couple years ago, you couldn't convince me to care. It had no meaning to it. There was no purpose behind it other than like, oh, I guess we just got to give the women their time and just get some other females in there besides, the main event title matches. But it's really bringing this importance to it where, and they're doing it nicely where they're pairing it great. Like they're pairing people in a good way too, where these matches make more sense. And it's just a lot more engaging. I really didn't care like over a month ago. I did not care. 2 years ago, definitely didn't care. But now
I never cared. I'll even go so far as to say I never
cared at all.
Not once.
Yeah. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I really, really am. And I love all different. What was it saying?
I'm not being insulted every week.
No. And I'm loving all the different
not be treated like
components to it. It's just incredible to see. I thought the women were great tonight. I really, really did. And you're right about with heels. They don't need to be cheating in order to win.
No, they should cheat.
They should cheat
for the most part, but they don't.
Yeah.
Like to win a big match, the heel doesn't always have to have distraction or cheat or whatever. Like they also have to be good at some point too.
I think my favorite part though was with Asuka.
How so?
I I really, because the commentators really told the story too of their history with Asuka and they did, which, and that's another element to this. The commentators are allowed to give a history lesson while they're commentating on what's going on in the match. So that, to me, again, I never knew that history. You can't just assume like, oh, because they're part of the same culture that they would have, interactions with one another. But no, they've had interactions with each other. There's something that they have past things that went on, and now here it is unfolding right in front of us to see what's going to happen next.
Yes,
it's awesome.
I love it. I'm all over it. I wish the crowd was a little more there for this, but overall it was really good. Dolph Ziggler and Finn Balor had a fantastic match tonight.
Can I just say, I am very happy for Dolph Ziggler that he is relevant, that I'm sorry. He was a person who, for whatever reason, Vince just wrote off, even though we know what he could do in the ring, and he had time. And, at one point, he had time, and they did give him time, and it didn't necessarily go the way that Vince wanted it to. But Dolph Ziggler is incredible. He's always been incredible, and he's always had the potential to do what he's doing now. He and Finn tonight were amazing. They were absolutely amazing. They had an intense match.
And it was impromptu as well. I really like that.
Come on.
Dolph Ziggler was asked about, how are you going to follow up to your loss last week to Theory? And, Ziggler talks about, yes, Theory was better than me last week, but I'm just trying, essentially he talks about how he's trying to teach him a lesson. And that brings Finn Balor up, and he says, you're no better than Edge and Rey Mysterio. You try to latch yourself onto young up and comers. You can't teach me anything. And calls him a kid, which I thought was really good. So
I thought it was really good too.
So Ziggler punches Balor in the face, and by the way, they're like the same age. Calling him a kid, and he's
well, Dolph even said, he goes, aren't we the same age?
Yeah, Finn's not a young up and comer, but he knocks him down on the floor, and he goes, "Are you gonna sit on your ass like a little bitch, or are you gonna come to the ring?" Which I thought was great. Now, while Ziggler lost here, so that's 2 losses in a row. That's fine.
It's okay.
The follow up is that Ziggler had a fantastic match and got over on Balor in that segment.
Yeah.
So it's not like Ziggler came out and was just embarrassed.
Not at all.
They had a friggin' awesome match. And this one ended with Rhea Ripley interfering as well. So
yes.
Ziggler had him essentially dead to rights. There was a great near fall where Balor goes for the coup de grace, but Ziggler rolls out of the way and connects with the zigzag, and Balor just barely kicked out. There was so many great near falls in this match that was not advertised, wasn't promoted, but just watching that segment kind of got me excited, and they fought with an intensity because they were pissed at each other coming out of that segment.
Yeah.
Just a great wrestling match.
It was.
It was Dolph Ziggler allowed to be Dolph Ziggler again, and Finn Balor finally getting to be Finn Balor.
I loved Finn Balor in this as well, and in his character,
and even his
total 180,
and even his promo against Ziggler was
great.
Really, really good.
It was great.
Really, really good. So I thought the world of that match. I really did. And Ziggler, oh my God, there was this one spot where Balor whipped him in the corner and he did the sternum into the top turnbuckle and he just got crushed. I thought it was just phenomenal. I was like, damn,
he's so good.
He's a hell of a wrestler.
Can't sleep on him. Can't.
He really is. Speaking of hell of a wrestler, Shoosh.
Oh my God, that's Liliana's
Shoosh,
favorite.
Please.
Liliana literally goes around the house saying "shoosh."
She loves Chad Gable. She loves
Gable.
The Alpha Academy. Whenever she hears that, she goes shoosh.
She goes shoosh, shoosh, shoosh.
So we were getting her ready. We were getting ready to put on the yellow light for her and go to bed. But Chad Gable came out and she really got excited when she heard shoosh, shoosh, please. And it was. I mean, look, Chad Gable is one of my favorite heels in professional wrestling because he just gets he just gets the role. He's fantastic at it. I remember where I was just like, that's it. I'm totally sold on the guy at that live event at Massacre Garden where he came out and they were the opening match against RK Bro, and he just was crushing New York and was shooshing everybody. I was just laughing my ass off in the stands. And here tonight, he did his house show shtick on Raw, essentially, where he talks about, I tried to find, a challenge for tonight, but all I can find are washed up ex-hockey players that are toothless and addicted to coffee at Tim Hortons. It was just like he hit all of their hometown stuff and mentioned how Toronto lost to Tampa Bay.
It's just different when he does it, though.
Stanley Cup.
It's different,
and he's so good. He had the crowd just so furious, and he's like, "We're issuing an open challenge. Who's going to answer the challenge?" And the crowd just hates him. They want to see anybody come out. And of course, they send out Canadian hero Kevin Owens to do it. Kevin Owens was the face tonight. And it was just the moment I dare
Canada.
say, I dare say it was a magical moment when Kevin Owens' music hit and the place went crazy. And they had, and again, this was like Edge having his main event where he pulled out all stops, diving off the top rope to the floor, Hurricane Rana, Canadian Destroyer, powerbomb on the barricade. Kevin Owens was treating this like this was a huge match for him. He treated this like it was important, which is like, again, you want to see that. You want to see them treat things like it's important.
No matter how big or small something is.
We like that. So Kevin Owens is, he's taking German suplexes on the apron, like they're pulling out all stops since he hit a picture perfect frog splash on the guy. Eventually, he gets the pin with a pop-up powerbomb. Otis, and by the way, the match was awesome. Really, really awesome. At the end, after the match, Otis attacks him. Owens makes a comeback, hits a stunner, and then powerbombs Gable onto Otis. It was a great moment for Toronto and a great moment for Kevin Owens because, look, he's going to be cheered in Canada. So I hate when they send a guy out who's a heel in their hometown and then have them like insult the place to try to get heat. And like the people don't want to boo them. In this case, it's like, okay, he's the heel, but tonight he's in his hometown.
So let him be a face.
Give him the big moment.
Yes.
And
they did that.
And they did that. He got over. He won his match. And then after the match, he continues to build himself by being vicious against Otis and Chad Gable with the powerbomb onto the partner, So look, that's how you do it. That's how it should be, for God's sake. They're even chanting for Sami Zayn to come out at the end. Like that, like it was just fantastic. I loved everything about that. That was just freaking awesome. And by the way, no follow-up on Ezekiel's status tonight. So anyway, like I mentioned before, Gigi Dolan is out. So on SmackDown, they're going to have a second chance fatal 4-way tag team match with Tamina and Dana Brooke, Natalya, Sonya Deville, Doudrop, and Nikki Ash, and Xia Li and Shotzi in a fatal 4-way. The winners face Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah later that night. And next week on Raw will be the finals of the women's tag team titles tournament. So Io Sky and Dakota Kai will face, whoever comes out victorious on SmackDown. So SmackDown's really going to be built around this tournament. So it's kind of nice that, I don't know if Roman Reigns is going to be on the show this week. I'm sure if he was, they would have promoted it. So without Reigns, like this is like a built-in like show long storyline that you can do, have open up with the fatal 4-way and then do the semifinal match as the main event of the show. Really good stuff. Really interesting. And I wonder if next week we'll be talking about the return of Sasha Banks and Naomi.
Yeah.
Very possible.
Which will be interesting.
Yeah. That one, I don't know. So it has also come out that Gigi Dolan got hurt riding a bull at a bull riding contest. Like that's legit.
Wow.
So that's not a wrestling injury that you hear about very often. So there you go. Anyway, back to the show as we're getting close to the end of the show here, and we're getting close to the end of our show as well. Bayley had her first match since June 25th, 2021.
Yeah.
Well, she started wrestling at the weekend house shows, but she beat Aaliyah. I didn't think the match was that great. It was a little slow, but overall, the point of the match was just to get Bayley back wrestling on television.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't think the match was that great, it probably had to feel good for her.
Oh, I'm sure.
She hasn't had a match on television in 14 months.
Could you imagine?
Essentially.
Could you imagine? And then being able to come back in this time?
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
It is really cool. And finally, the last match that we have to talk about that we haven't talked about yet is Ciampa and The Miz. Right now, turning into one of my favorite tag teams in WWE right now, against United States champion Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles. And I thought this was a great tag match. The Miz looks totally different.
He's different. He is. That's because he is.
This pairing with Ciampa is like making Miz look like a real wrestler.
Yep.
I didn't get in trouble for that. I can't believe that.
Everyone doubted me.
Yes.
I only stick by The Miz. They're something else. Initially when they got together, I was like, I'm not really sure about this, but who would have thunk it? Like, my God, they really, really do pair very, very, very well together.
I know.
It's weird. Like, it shouldn't work, but it does. Like,
it's so crazy. This is the only match that had a wonky finish, but the action in it was solid as hell. Miz and Ciampa really are a very good tag team.
I don't, like I said,
and
it
the crowd's
work,
still
but
really
does.
into Bobby Lashley. Like they're chanting his name.
As they should. Yeah.
But it ends in a no contest. This I thought was really smart. They did a couple things backstage where You saw Adam Pearce walking around with I think it was a picture of Dexter Lumis with security that the commentators didn't mention. And then when Bobby Lashley and AJ were walking backstage, Adam Pearce, it looked like, was with personnel putting out a piece of equipment that was on fire. But tonight it's anybody that comes through the crowd is going to be Dexter Lumis. So they obviously had security on high alert. So AJ Styles gets grabbed. This guy grabs him by the hair when he's at ringside. And it's so I immediately I thought Dexter Lumis, I guess, is going to be a heel. He's going against AJ Styles, and security tackles this person. And when the mask is pulled off, it's this other dude. I couldn't tell who it was. I was I didn't know if it was Joaquin Wild or Santos Escobar. I didn't know if it was somebody like that, but I was I guess Santos Escobar shaved his beard or something like that. But
yeah,
it wound up just being a decoy. That was the goal. Dexter Lumis hired somebody to be a decoy for him. And then he emerges, now that security's tussling with this guy, Dexter Lumis can now reach over the barricade, grab the Miz in a chokehold, and drag him away, kidnapping the man on live television. Because the security was dealing with the other guy. So it's all the plot hole, all the logic holes that you might want to throw at this have been taken care of with the decoy. And Dexter Lumis is able to steal the Miz.
If I had a fault this show tonight, it's that my Miz got kidnapped.
I mean, talk about a show that has everything. You have Legends Wrestling with Edge against Damian Priest. You have Kevin Owens, the hometown guy, having a great great brawling wrestling match. You have a great wrestling match with Finn Balor and Dolph Ziggler, all different styles.
And then you have kidnapping.
You have women. You have a taste of you have a slice of Japanese wrestling with Asuka and Io Sky.
I have to check something.
And
real
now
quick.
you have a kidnapping on the show as well. It's back to being a true variety show.
I'm just curious.
Again.
I'm just curious if Maurice did a post about where's my husband? Yeah.
Where is he?
Let's see. No, nothing yet. Just of the girls.
That's it. Well, she might be frantically searching for her husband. Maybe that's why she's not posting. I don't know. But I don't know. I thought, look, they haven't done a lot with Dexter Lumis yet other than these attacks, but they are making me I did not like Dexter Lumis at all. At all in NXT. They tried with him. I never liked him. I didn't understand it. I thought it was a boring friggin' gimmick. I thought it was stupid. I was like, this guy didn't impress me. But as it stands right now, the bell has not rung and he has not wrestled yet. So there's still time for me to be like, oh, Dexter Lumis still sucks. But at this very moment, on August 23rd at 12:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I am interested in Dexter Lumis. And I'm interested to see how the Miz makes a comeback from this.
Is it's going to be brainwashed or
is this going to be a Breaking Bad thing where they go get the tub from Home Depot and the acid? I don't know. But I'm excited. It's just great to watch the show again and be excited. And it's I'm watching the show and it's when are we gonna have a bad one? When are we gonna have a bad one? And it's not yet. And I think even when they do have a show that's down, quote unquote,
it's not really gonna be down.
It's not gonna be down like it was in the past.
No,
it's not gonna be like
we went down.
Because again, like I said, you can't have spectacular crazy things every
and you're
week,
not going to
But they built the show up for 2 weeks with Edge and Damian Priest, and it delivered because they made this Raw in particular in a major city feel very special. And look at this. I've never seen this before. Now we have 103 votes on this. 97.1% thumbs up, 2.9% thumbs down. This is easily one of the I'll say this is the best rated Raw by the readers that I've ever done. I didn't have a single bad thing to say about it. And, I got to tip my hat to what they're doing right now, because they have totally turned me around on professional wrestling and made me love WWE again.
Yeah.
I always loved WWE. I can't say that I haven't, but it's like when I get mad and get frustrated and I rant about like what the hell's going on.
It's because you care.
It's because I know I see every mistake that they're making. It's like, why are they making these same mistakes every week and trying to say that, oh well, it's like for the casual. No, this you could have a show that's really good and cater to the full audience.
I think that's why everybody was just frustrated, because everyone just
who
cared.
let Tony Khan and CM Punk vote.
Oh god.
Yeah, 2.9% thumbs down. Who gave that? Who did that? But
actually, they should have been voting yes.
But let's ask the chat room.
Miz got kidnapped.
Let's ask our loyal viewers what they thought of the show tonight. If you like the show, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the show, give it a thumbs down. I'm not talking about the post-Raw show. I'm talking about Raw itself. Did you like it? Give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. Victoria, I'll give it to you first.
I definitely give it 2 thumbs up. I'm going with the 2. If I had another thumb, I'd give it 3.
I'm putting my big toes up. I'm putting my thumbs up. I thought this show was just a great professional wrestling show. I thought it was a great professional wrestling show. And so often when I used to listen to Steve Austin's podcast, which I wish I don't even know if he's doing them anymore. I can't remember like seeing any new episodes of Steve Austin's show. I mean, he does the stuff on the WWE Network, but he used to talk about like wrestling is on the marquee. Why can't they do wrestling? I think Stone Cold Steve Austin's got to be happy with what he's watching right now. I'd imagine so. And it's like I almost wish that like Stone Cold could just do one more match, like under this regime here.
Hey, you never know.
Daniel Shell gives this a missing person's thumbs up. I like
Poor
that
Miz.
one. That might be Daniel's best comment.
Thumbs up, yeah.
Machine Walls 2 thumbs up for an exciting show. Grash 2 thumbs up around the mouth. All right. Let's see. Dexter Loomis thumbs up for Randy. All right. Very much up from Nafis. Let's see. This is a good point too. Andrew Elder said something that Jamel also said, for once they won't surrender in the fall and they'll actually put in the effort in the fall. Absolutely. Now Raw has gone against some preseason football already. I at least I think they have, or they've gone over some games, but they never phone anything in. I haven't seen anything phoned in this entire month, which is great news.
And they're definitely not going to for the fall.
And like even when they were preempted for that NFL preseason game in a couple markets last week for SmackDown, they didn't phone in that SmackDown.
Not at all.
They did not phone in that SmackDown.
No, and you shouldn't.
It's not the fans' fault that there's preemptions or that there's a game going on. Like if people pay for a ticket to see your show, they deserve to get your best effort. And it's about time that it's about damn time that we it's about damn time.
I love Lizzo.
Okay? That they start doing this. That they start rewarding their fans for showing up rather than being like, you're idiots for being here and we're gonna prove it to you by giving you a crappy show. Like where you're gonna leave feeling like you should have done anything.
That was
but go to that show.
Vince's sick way of being like, ha 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 ha.
All right, Daniel's trying a little too hard now. Thumbs file for missing persons reported on the Miz up. I still like it though. Vince McMahon might be one of the thumbs down. That's pretty good. Jamel, 2 thumbs up. Enjoyed tonight from start to finish. Good pro wrestling, good sports entertainment. I am satisfied. You might be stratisfied, actually, sir. Stratisfaction guaranteed. Thumbs up from Andrew Elder. My love of pro wrestling up. And if SummerSlam is back in Nashville next year, I'll be there and definitely go to Mania in Philly. Also hope for a negative COVID test on Wednesday. We hope for that for you as well, sir. Is Drew going over at Clash? That's a good question. Look, I don't think so. I think he should, and I think that would, like, if that happened, SummerSlam 1992 is still like considered to be the best international pro wrestling pay-per-view, in WWF history. Yeah, I still think the showdown that they had in Korea For WCW, you need something?
No, I'm just my hands fell asleep.
Okay. That's probably one of the biggest events that they ever did, but in pro wrestling history. But in terms of WWF, their biggest international show ever was SummerSlam 1992. I would say. I mean, you could say like any WrestleMania in Toronto, but I'm talking about like something overseas. Where it was an actual big event. SummerSlam 92. I think if Drew McIntyre goes over at Clash, that would solidify that pay-per-view as maybe one of maybe surpassing SummerSlam 1992 as their biggest international show that they've ever done. That was catered to a global market rather than just like they would do those Rebellion pay-per-views in England, but they wouldn't be shown here. So and they wouldn't be promoted on the show either. So if he does, that would be enormous. And that would really turn Drew McIntyre into like the guy for the company. I think I wish that they wouldn't say it's like it's for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. I wish they'd just say it's like Roman Reigns is just putting the WWE title on the line or the Universal title on the line and just take one of the titles has to come off them. I think we should have a world champion on the show, but they've done such a good job building up these mid-card titles. I don't know. I think you have to build up mid-card titles just because titles matter. Like otherwise, why they exist?
They should. Why exactly?
But I also think that they might be building them up because Roman isn't losing the titles and isn't going to be on TV a lot. So you have to get other titles. You need to have something to care about.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice if they're building up the titles and bringing the titles back, the world titles back to the TV.
Listen, some things can change. You never know. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Randy's saying that they can't phone it in right now. This is the most momentum WWE has had in years, and they know it.
No.
Yeah, and look,
even if they wanted to, they shouldn't.
Yeah, and phoning it in is very much like a Vince thing. It's like that just doesn't make any sense.
He used football as his crutch.
Yeah, that I don't know. It's weird to like say like we're not going to give our best effort to our paying audience.
Should always do it.
That's just a weird thing to me. And Jamel, man, we put up a lot of weird and stupid habits from Vince over the years. Hell yeah, we did.
Yeah, I think I think our standards were just off because we were like, oh yeah, this is a good show. But if you look at a good show in the past and you look at a good show now, you're like, what?
And Andrew says USA and Fox want separate belts. I want separate belts. I think they should do separate belts. So we'll see what happens. As Jamel says, plans can change, pal. I don't think that's changed about Vince. That plans can certainly change. Absolutely.
We're loud, pal.
Yeah, and hopefully not phone it in December. I don't think it will be. I have just great. I have really, really great feelings about this show. But I mean, look, if Drew doesn't win, that certainly gives, the option to send Karrion Kross out there to cost in the match, so like there's certainly that.
They have options.
That might solidify Karrion Kross as like one of the biggest heels in the company at that point. So we'll see. But look, I'll be watching, and I can't wait to watch on that Saturday in the middle of the freaking day. I think it's gonna be a good show. Anyway, everybody, on that note, we're going to say good night and goodbye to all of you. But we really enjoyed talking about this show tonight. At least I did. I don't know about Victoria.
I definitely did.
And we've got a little long again.
I was so excited, and I'm so excited now. I'm just tired now because we just did so much.
It's like weird. It's like when these shows are really good. I always thought that like, wow, if Raw ever got good, these shows would be like 15 minutes. Oh, I like this. Good night. But no, like we've talked longer than ever about the things that we love about this show. I love having a positive show like this. I love it. So anyway, everybody, and I hope we'll be back next week talking about another positive event. But we will be right alongside you as we do it.
If you find the Miz, contact me.
Yes. Let Victoria know if you find the Miz in Toronto somewhere in a back alley tied up. We don't know. We hope he's okay. I'm Mike Tedesco.
I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Thanks everybody for joining us. And
Bye everyone.
We'll see you next week.
Have a good week.
Good night.